Hey everybody, it's me. I'm back for another video. I wanted to talk about a couple things today, of course, all including maladaptive daydreaming. But I'd also like to talk about mental illness. So stay tuned for that. I still don't have a good editing software, so um, there's not going to be any spicy edits. I might try with this one thing that my computer has, but it might not be that good. So, yeah. So today I wanted to talk about the first thing I wanted to talk about was maladaptive daydreaming. I get like a lot of DMs from people who are like, I don't know how to stop or whatever. And it's like, I've made videos about tips on how to stop, like, seeing a therapist and a licensed professional. But if you don't have that choice, I'm sorry, my aunt's husband is mowing the lawn, so you might hear that. I hope you can still hear me though. Sometimes people's insurance doesn't let you have therapy, so I mean, uh, you could always DM me. My Instagram is maladaptive.memes. My DMs are always open, and if you just want to talk, and if you can't get a therapist, I would get a friend or family member that you trust to kind of be your little watch buddy, or um, set scheduled times for you to daydream. And on top of that, set a timer or watch the clock to see how long you daydream. Because I used to daydream, 3 hours, uh, at a time. So I record that, and then next time I daydreamed, I would set a timer for 3 hours. Maybe a little while next, I'll set a timer for 2 hours. And also get hobbies and make scheduled times for when you are going to do those hobbies, and make sure when you're doing those hobbies in that scheduled time, whether that be like studying or crocheting, drawing, making music, uh, don't daydream during those times. And if you catch yourself slipping, just maybe out loud just say focus or take a deep breath. Something I used to do is when I would see myself starting to go daydreaming at a time I know I shouldn't, I just kind of whisper reality, stop for 3 seconds, and then continue what I'm doing. And then that word reality became like a kind of like a pinpoint for my brain to know. It became like a trigger to stop myself. And it was actually really helpful. Um, Also, I apologize about the hair. I just got out of the pool because I had this idea for a video and I hadn't done a video in a while. Um, and the other thing I would wanted to talk about is mental illness and like depression and stuff. Because as we, gotta have water in my ear. Because as we know, maladaptive daydreaming isn't a disorder, though lots of people are confused about that. It is a psychological condition that can be a symptom of other disorders like depression, ADHD, bipolar, etc. Um, and recently I haven't just had any good scenarios to daydream about. Like I've had like I'll start daydreaming and then I'll just get really uninspired, like writer's block. And it's really sad because it's something that I've always loved doing ever since I was little, and the fact that I can't even do that anymore is like it's very sad. Um, but um, mental illness, I have been trying to get a hold of a psychiatrist for so long. As you know, I just turned 18 in June, so I'm kind of starting to learn how to make my own appointments and stuff. And I thought I was going to run out of medication, and it was really bad. I was trying really hard to find a psychiatrist. The other day, I think Tuesday, I finally got to sit down with a counselor who could schedule, but I'm not going to actually see a real psychiatrist for like the next 2 months. So we're going to have to try and see if we can get a bridge prescription, but that's not the point. Anyways, I was diagnosed with mood dysregulation disorder a while ago, and let me give you a little backstory. When I was 12 and I got taken into foster care, I was diagnosed with severe depression. I've had severe depression my whole life up until I was 16, and I moved into this one group home where I started abusing drugs. And I started hearing voices and stuff, but it was because of the drugs. It wasn't because I was schizophrenic or, anything else. And I went and I saw the psychiatrist. Now, be aware because a lot of psychiatrists are really trigger happy when it comes to diagnosing you. So if you think that something may be wrong, make sure you put it out there because this guy diagnosed me with like schizophrenia, with bipolar disorder, depression, all this other crazy stuff. I was taking like 8 pills a day. I was taking like 3 pills of Suprex. I was taking like Zoloft twice a day. I was taking like Adderall twice a day and clonidine. And it just made everything worse because if you take medication for something that you don't need, it can give you the symptoms of what it's supposed to be trying to prevent. So the voices and the auditory hallucinations were getting so bad. Then I ended up going to rehab and a rehabilitation center, residential center, probably like what Eugenia Cooney went to if you saw her video with Shane. It's basically this place where they tell you when to get up, when to go to sleep, when to eat. They monitor you, take your weight, blood pressure. But the psychiatrist there wouldn't give me my medication because he said that, oh, you're doing good. You're like following the rules. So you don't need medication, obviously. And it was really bad. And I ended up getting moved out of there and moved into another residential where they only gave me Seroquel and Adderall for ADHD, and I was diagnosed with mood dysregulation disorder. I wasn't diagnosed with depression anymore. I don't know why I was diagnosed with mood dysregulation disorder because it's kind of like my therapist told me that mood dysregulation disorder is usually diagnosed in like teenagers and young kids when they don't know if they're bipolar or depressed. He said it's kind of like an in the middle thing. So I've been taking Seroquel and because I ended up getting off of Adderall and it was working really well. I asked to get off of the Adderall, which I think might have been a bad idea because I can never keep my mind in one place at a time. So when I do see a psychiatrist, I'm going to see if I can get back on the Adderall. Or maybe it's just because I'm growing up and I don't really need all that medication. Maybe it's just because my brain isn't fully developed and it would be a bad idea to get put back on Adderall. But I don't know. Uh, um, but I ended up seeing this therapist, and he was so cool. Like he was with the shits, if you know what I mean. Like he knew the memes. He was cool. He was really cool. And I was explaining to him. He was like, "Oh, sometimes do you feel really inspired to do something and then like don't or something like that?" And I'm like, because I'm the kind of person that people will get upset with me because I don't call them. Because a lot of times I just physically can't make myself call other people. Like one day I'll be like, oh man, I should call people. I'll call this old friend of mine. I'll call my mom. Uh, call my best friend and all of that stuff, and like have a good conversation and whatever. And then like an hour later, I'm like, I can't talk to people anymore. And for the next like week, I'll just stay in my room and not talk to anybody, which is how I guess I've always been. And he's like, I just think you're severely depressed. And I'm like, I would have never thought, because that's literally the only thing besides ADHD I've ever had in my life. Just being severely depressed. And also not being able to sleep at night, which is what the Seroquel is for. And that shit knocks me out. I swear, I'll be like trying to walk. Like last night, I took it fairly early, and it makes me hungry. So I go out to get something, and my hands are like shaking, and I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep right here in this kitchen. Uh, so he diagnosed me with depression, severe depression, like pretty much I have been since I was 12. Um, and I'm gonna go see a psychiatrist. And he's gonna apparently he put that on the information so that way when I do see my other psychiatrist, he'll be like, Why do you have both of them? Because apparently they're not supposed to go together, but he put it in there on purpose so the next psychiatrist would like look at it, I guess. Uh, and hopefully he can give me something for the depression, give me something, I guess, with serotonin to make me happy, I guess. I don't know. But I have a feeling that maybe the depression is getting to my maladaptive daydreaming. That was the whole point of this. Because now it's like I can't even daydream, and that's like my one escape. And like there's times where I'll be like, oh, I'll be so into it, I'll be pacing, the music will be turned up all the way, and then like a minute later, I'm like, oh, God, this sucks. And it kind of sucks because like maladaptive daydreaming is like my best friend, the friend that's been with me since the beginning, you know. So saying that sort of go away, maybe it's because I'm growing up and maybe it's because I'm changing, but it's still all the same really sad. Because I don't want to stop, but maybe it's a good thing.